Well, Alex just said that there's no change in approach in this game. That doesn't come as any surprise to any of us who have been watching your teams play this year. But is there anything? Sorry, is there anything at all different about this game tomorrow night, given what might lie at the end of it?
It's the same approach every game. I'll say it over and over again. What's worked for us before, will work for us again. So my job is to make sure the focus is solely on the performance for the first 45, fix what we need to at half time, and then finish the game off for the next 45. Again, I always talk about this. When there's always a build-up like this, or there's added expectation, I feel like it's more of a distraction than anything. No one came into the season giving this team any sort of credit or respect. So we just went back to what we think is a good formula, focusing on the now, and we won't change.
Is there any danger of your players getting carried away?
No, I don't think so. There hasn't been any talk about, winning silverware, or they never get too cocky. It is a young group, and my biggest thing is balancing out the expectation of being in a position where they have to consistently, churn performance after performance and getting result. That's something they're probably not accustomed to. But I think every challenge that's been thrown our way, they've actually done quite well.
I think for the first time in a long time, you've got a fully fit squad to choose from. So you've managed that brilliantly through to round 27. How will you manage the playing 11 and the subs tomorrow night?
I'll be the same approach. I think most of the players understand who's going to start early on in the week. And then it's just a matter from a tactical point of just getting the starting team to play the way we want, and the subs understand also their impact. I'm pretty clear, and I communicate that with them every week. It's the same approach that we take every week. There's no special way of managing them. It's all about having an open, honest discourse and saying what's expected of them. And to be fair, I think you have to credit the physio and the S&C for managing, these guys throughout the year. We don't have the biggest squad, and we've had a lot of significant injuries. And I feel as though, both Corey Glover and Weiji Lim have done really well in making sure that we have fit players every week, and having a fit squad. But it's great to have a full squad now. Aussie's back, and now we have some competition for spots on the bench. So, it's good. It's healthy. I think it's very, very important. And you see all, great winning sides. I think, they have one thing in common. They have a lot of depth as well. Not only a good starting 11, but guys that can come off the bench and do a job.
Oscar Zavada got 10 minutes the other night. He said in media during the week he could play 90. I get the feeling it'll be somewhere between 10 and 90. What's your estimation on his ability to play minutes tomorrow night?
Again, it's the same roadmap that we put in place a couple of weeks ago, and I mentioned in the media. It's more about building the loads in the legs. If he had a sustained period of training, a month or 6 weeks, where he was, with the ball all the time, I'd be confident giving him more time. But for me, it's also, about, risk management, and I don't want to re-aggravate the injury or put him, in a position where he can't actually, stride out for the time that he thinks that he can play. So it's, nice steady approach. Whether we use him for more than 10 minutes on the weekend, will really be dictated by the game. Again, as much as I really, I'd want to play him and give him some time, the result and the context of the game will dictate what we do.
And we've come to know you and love you as a very deeply superstitious bloke. How are you feeling about the Premier's Plate being at the stadium tomorrow night?
Yeah, I said I don't want to see it. I don't want to know about it. I don't want my players to see it. I think it's just, it's bad luck. It's just, look, it's great. And, if we get crowned champions, they have to have it there. But, I don't like tempting fate. I don't like, it's almost like kryptonite almost.
I know you're good mates with Rob Stanton, so have you spoken to him to help him try get a win over Central Coast?
No, I won't be ringing Robbie. Robbie's a good coach, and he doesn't need my phone call to, inspire him to win a derby. They've got proper rivalry, so I expect Jets want to put one over Mariners, and the fact that if they can stop them winning a championship, I think they'll be bragging rights for a long time.
Do you feel like the Mariners have the advantage, although you're 1 point ahead? They've got the game in hand.
I said that a couple of weeks ago. Once we lost the game to Mariners, it's for Mariners to lose the title. For us, we're just going to go out there, try to win the game, and then see what happens. But Mariners have now got their destiny in their own hands, so it's just more about them finishing the business and beating Newcastle.
Any disappointment their game got pushed back from last weekend?
I was disappointed because, again, the drama of the league on the last day is the best thing about football. If you look at, I was mentioning to the players yesterday, City, 2 occasions over the last 10 years, won the league on the last day, in the last couple of minutes, the one against Villa, the one against QPR. Serie A has been won a couple of times in the last game. It's drama. It's unbelievable for the fans. It's a great feeling, and that added pressure of actually having to turn over a result, knowing what the context is, I think kind of takes away a little bit from the fans. But look, credit to Mariners. It's not their fault. They didn't ask for this. They made the final, and the scheduling, the way it worked with with the travel, it wasn't anything intentional. So you can't punish them either.
Have you been playing the Aguero goal in your office this week?
Me, yeah, I have. The thing is, for me, it's more important the players understand that tomorrow we don't give up under any circumstance. It's about actually, primarily the performance and making sure that everyone's really proud of the way we play against a really good opponent that we could probably play in a couple of weeks. We don't know. It's really a really good way to get the conditioning in the legs as well, because we're going to have a week off. It's very, very important. But I want our players not to give up, and getting, clouded with what's happening elsewhere. It's really the focus on what we're doing. So I'm going to be showing videos of that to the boys before the game, just to make sure that they understand, where we're at.
That flows in nicely. What I was going to ask, because there's some talk about whether you need to know the score in the other game on.
Don't need to know it.
Doesn't matter. Does it?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Win, right? If we don't win it, then all this is pointless. So for me, again, we're going to go out there, try to play the best football we can. We get the result, and everything else will look after itself.
I want to ask about Angel Torres, and that's a pretty serious situation.
Sure.
Going through the courts, not asking about that. Is there a question to ask of the league or Central Coast, given the accusations? He played on for about a month, scored against you, scored against City. Do you need to ask the question of the club and the APL about whether that was appropriate?
Look, I don't want to say anything out of turn. Obviously, player needs to go through due process. The whole thing is, a very complicated matter. I don't want to say Mariners had an advantage, because at the end of the day, it's not one player that wins, the games, but I think that will play out itself. Is it a reason why we lost the game a couple of weeks ago? No, I don't think so at all. That's it's a team sport. And I don't really have much else to say about it, because it's a very delicate situation, and hopefully the courts look after it.
So you're confident that it's being managed?
Oh yeah, I have no reason to doubt that the league and the clubs did manage it well from day one.
Just lastly,
yep.
Both you and Roofs earlier sort of have used this press conference to say, look, at the start of the season, no one gave us a chance, everyone had us in the bottom. I'm guessing that's present company accepted as we all back the mix over here. But is that defiance? Is that like, let's stick it up and let's show them, let's prove to our worth? Is that actually a driving force in your dressing room?
There's a picture of a certain person on YouTube that tipped us to be last. It's up on the change room, and it tied in with one of our value meetings. Togetherness is one of our values, and it stays up there, and it's a constant reminder of what people think of us. And I don't go and say every day that we need to be the underdog here sort of mentality. It's nothing like that, but it's just a little reminder every day of how people quickly forget how good our players are, and the driving force is actually built by the group themselves. They've got internally they've got a collective mindset that they want to prove a lot of people wrong. They want to prove all the people that tipped us to be last, and show them that what we're made of. And I mean, look, for me, the most important thing out of all this is every time we've lost the game, they've come back out and responded to critics, right? So that shows that collective spirit and a belief in the group that they can do great things. And yeah, I don't think anyone in this room actually tipped us to be anywhere near the 6, to be fair, or even in this position. Even the most loyal fans were kind of questioning whether or not we'll be even, be competitive. So I'm just happy that the group was able to prove them wrong.
You're not going to tell us the identity of the person on the wall?
Are they in the room with us?
No. They're at...
No, he looked at Phil when he said it.
Yeah.
There's a picture of Ned on the wall.
Yeah. I have bookmarked people's pre-season predictions, so yeah.
Do you understand though why people didn't have confidence in the team? New coach, didn't make any notable signings. Did you feel like you were a team that was going to surprise more than be a favourite?
But I think you ignore the fact of what we already had here. We have a very good facility. We have a good club with good forward thinking. We have players that were already proven in the A-League. It was just more maybe about those players playing consistently. Maybe I think the biggest question mark was over the young players. But if you saw what we did in pre-season, we spent 3 months on all those young players, and we trained them every day, and we made sure that they got up to speed where there would be some sort of depth for us moving throughout the year. And to be fair, like if you look at Lucas Kelly-Hill, Vin Sermon, now players like Matt Sheridan coming through, Finn Conchi's starting to come through, all these boys, they've been exceptional. I can't ask anything more from them. So all those ingredients were there already, and I think it was just more maybe maybe everyone else wasn't confident. And look, I probably was the big uncertainty as well. First time job, first time coaching a senior team. So, but to be fair, I'm not. Definitely not the brains. I think we're a very good coaching team. We all have input, and as I mentioned before, even the physio, the S&C, everyone's had their part to play. So it's just been a mixture of all those things.
And given that no one tipped you to be at this point of the season, would you be disappointed if you don't win the premiership now that you are in a position where you have a 1-point lead heading into the final game?
Depends what you define as success, right? So for me, success at the beginning of the year was making sure that everyone knew how we play, what style we have, what we stand for. I think we've done well in that regards. For me, so it's already been a successful season. Another marker that I had for success was making sure that I get a large chunk of these boys back in the New Zealand setup, because for me that's playing for the national team is the highest honour you can have. And I think that we had 6 players called up and in total 7 when Roofs got added. So from that point it's successful. I think next year if we can get a large chunk of our boys playing in the Olympic team, it'll be even better. So for me that's success. Now the trophy itself, I say this all the time, tomorrow we could be 3-0 up, all right, and Mariners are down 1-0, and then in the last minute they get a dodgy penalty and they draw and they beat Adelaide. We can't control that. So again, I think sometimes you need a bit of luck, for those things to go your way. But if we don't win the Shield or don't win the grand final, am I going to be disappointed? No, because at the end of the day, we've got 50 points, we've scored a lot of goals, we've conceded a less amount of goals, we've exceeded what everyone else thought was possible. And the fact, I think, if you look at the fan base, I think they're proud of what we've done. And for me, that's an achievement within itself.
Has your perspective changed being Australian and New Zealand and everything that's been happening? I don't know, do you think New Zealand in football should be taken more seriously by Australians?
I don't think it's more about being taken seriously. I just don't think there's a conscious understanding of the landscape here. New Zealand's very similar to Australia, just smaller numbers. The same problems that you have in Australia are the same as in New Zealand. I think the biggest issue is the correlation of like participation grassroots going into senior football. Like there's not a high turnaround. It's probably because of the lack of professional clubs and infrastructure. And I think the same thing with Oz is the same as New Zealand. It's not primarily footballing countries. They have other codes that are bigger sports. And I think that's fundamentally deep down. That's the biggest problems both countries have. Australians take Kiwis seriously, I think. I don't think there's, I think that's more tongue-in-cheek than anything, the rivalry, across the ditch and so on. But, I remember, look back, I think it was the 86 qualifying tournament. I think it was 86 when the Kiwis beat the Aussies and they were favourites, going into the game before Israel, before they had to play Colombia in the World Cup playoff. And, so the rivalry goes back all the way. And I think Aussies deep down, they respect New Zealand players, and likewise, there's admiration for a lot of Australian players. But again, I think this is another reason why I think we're successful. It's put, us as a club, as a nation, in a good spotlight as well, and that we actually produce some really good players.
Can we talk about the fans? It's probably going to be a very big crowd on Saturday. How big a part are they going to play?
Again, I say they're like the 12th man. It's very, very important that the crowd come there, cheer us on. And I said it this morning in the breakfast interview, the three biggest games the club has ever played are going to be the next three. This game here, potentially with the title on the line, the first leg of the semi-final, and then the home leg. If we can get anywhere close to 20,000 for tomorrow's game, it's just also an unbelievable experience for the fans themselves, just to come out and be part of an atmosphere. But more importantly, I think the semi-final needs to be sold out. That's going to be epic. And then if the cards fall where they fall, and then we get a home final, then another full stadium would be great.